What's going on, everybody? So after part 3, there have been a lot of questions and there have been some new villains that have been introduced. I just want to go over some of these villains, particularly Medina Dore. She has a troubling past and she has some ongoing issues right now that we need to cover because I think they factor into this case that we're in and the situation that we're in right now with Ben. So we're going to go over that. I also just want to go over some of the people that have been saying to me, like, Google had no choice. Google has to honor this order, the search warrant order. It's been signed off by a judge. That's true, but Google is also a massive corporation. And if you know how the world works, you know that massive corporations and people with lots of money can challenge things. And they can push these proceedings back and they can push these orders back through their own lawyers. Google could have easily challenged this. It was signed off by a judge, but they can definitely go against it. They can delay it and they can help out their creators and they can help out people on their platform like Reckless Ben, but they choose not to. Now, in this particular situation, it's the actual police force with Medina Door issuing the subpoena to Google so they can, the search warrant, so they can retrieve all of Reckless Ben's data. And so with this case, you really have to also look at the judges. Why did the judge sign off on this? The judges who don't do their due diligence and don't actually look at the evidence or the case and they just sign off on the search warrant that's going to retrieve all of our information, like, this sets a precedent. And unfortunately, we're seeing judges all across the country do this. And America, you got to get your stuff together. Because right now, as a populace, you are letting your institutions, you're letting your judges and your police officers walk all over you. But besides all that, what I really want to focus on is Medina Door. Because Medina Door is a vile, wretched human being who came up with these trumped up charges. We saw on video. We saw her on video saying, I don't think we have enough for extortion. I don't think there's enough for extortion. However, I think we may be able to get him on this. We may be able to get this fool. Another thing, you're a police officer, and yet you keep referring to Ben as a fool. Did it ever cross your mind that the actual suspect, that the actual criminal is the one you're talking to? But Medina Dore was nominated Employee of the Month while she is currently being sued. Medina Dore is currently being sued for a wrongful death. All right, so let's go over these court documents. This is the lawsuit. The lawsuit is being filed by the deceased mother. So this is the mother suing the police force with Medina Dore, who was on call that night. On September 28, 2020, at about 1 a.m., Officers Mahoney, Miguel, Dore, and Whatcott and Grow responded to a dispatch call at the decedent's home. While at decedent's home, the deceased, plaintiffs informed the officers that the decedent had intentionally consumed a dangerous amount of prescription pills, and plaintiff provided specific information about which prescription pills had been consumed. So that is the key detail in this lawsuit, is that Medina was informed. As soon as she entered the house of the man who passed away, she was informed about the prescription pills that he had taken and the specific information about those pills. The decedent was then placed in custody at about 1:10 a.m. for his alleged involvement in a domestic physical altercation with his brother. So they arrived at UVH at 1:25 a.m. for a medical clearance to go to jail. The staff was informed that he had minor injuries on his hand and feet. No Provo officer informed the medical staff at UVH that the decedent had consumed a dangerous amount of prescription medication. Nobody bothered to mention you're going to the hospital to get a medical clearance so they can go to jail, and you don't even mention the prescription pills that you were informed about. And this is why she's a moron. This is why she's making all these mistakes with the current case she's on with Reckless Ben. She doesn't know how to do her job. He exhibited many signs of drug impairment while at UVH hospital. Specifically, he was extremely agitated, irrational, and belligerent. He had vomited, had slurred speech, was extremely drowsy, and was mobilized only by wheelchair. Dr. Christensen medically cleared the decedent for jail without any treatment for his drug impairments. He was then wheelchaired out of UVH hospital at around 2:10 a.m. by Officer Mahoney. He then vomited again while being transported to the jail, and Officer Mahoney informed Officer Dore of that upon arriving to the jail. Once at the jail's nurse was concerned about the decedent's impairment and required that Officer Mahoney perform a breathalyzer before the jail would consider admitting him. The test revealed a .06 blood alcohol level. He then began to have seizures while at the jail's sally port. While waiting for the ambulance, he was repeatedly having seizures and struggling for oxygen. The jail nurse asked Officers Dore and Mahoney if the decedent's family said anything about him doing drugs. Both officers denied being told about him taking any drugs. Wow. It's not just incompetence, it's almost deliberate. It almost seems like they deliberately wanted this guy to pass away from his overdose because they were informed when they entered the home, and they were informed on the exact prescription pills he took. They could have gave that information to the hospital and the nurses, and he would be alive today. He would most likely be alive today if that information was given to the hospital staff. At 3:53 a.m., the decedent was pronounced dead. The cause of his death was drug intoxication. The drugs causing his death were the same as described by the plaintiff to the officers when they entered the home. So this is Medina Dore, folks. Medina Dore is an incompetent detective police officer who has no idea what she's doing. Now let's go over what she charged Reckless Ben with. So guys, shout out to this website. It's bamsucks.com. Bamsucks.com. And it has all the different procedures and case documents, court documents, whatever you need regarding this case. Bamsucks.com has it all. So let's go over this. So this is what Medina Dore used to acquire all of Reckless Ben's sensitive information. So Court 1, disorderly conduct, a Class C misdemeanor. They charged Reckless Ben with disorderly conduct, and it says he refused to comply with a lawful order of the police to move from a public space or an official meeting. So I'm pretty sure this all pertains to when he went into the establishment. Amon, a lot of people said, hey, his name's Ammon. I'm going to keep calling him Amon. I like Amon. If it upsets him, some people get upset if they don't have the right name. Their name isn't pronounced correctly. I hope this aggravates and pisses off Amon, because I'm calling you Amon. So it appears this is what they actually used to acquire the search warrant with. So it's the disorderly conduct, and it is the criminal trespassing, a Class B misdemeanor violation on December 10th, 2025. They got him on trespassing and disorderly conduct, and somehow some stupid moronic judge said, hey, I love this. Let's sign off on this. Let's send this to Google, and let's deprive American citizens of their rights. Let's screw everything we've built with democracy, screw law and order. Let's steal all this guy's information. Let's steal everything he stores on his email. Let's steal all of his videos. This is theft. They stole all of his information. So this is what Medina Dore used. She used disorderly conduct and criminal trespassing, which we know is total BS. We saw the video. Reckless Ben went into there. He was being very cordial. He was being extremely nice. And he told Amon, he said, hey man, give up the Legos. Let's do this the easy way so we don't have to go through all the court stuff. Let's do the right thing. He tried to do the right thing, and when they told him to leave, he left. There was no pushback. There was no disorderly conduct. There was no trespassing, because he was speaking to Amon. They were exchanging information, and Amon even offered him a new email. If you guys remember the video, he said, hey, that email's not good. Use this email. So these are trumped up BS charges that a judge signed off on. If you are the judge that signed off on that, I don't know his name. We haven't actually seen what he signed off on to send the search warrant to Google, but you're a moron as well. You're not even looking at this case. Like, what's going on here? Like, why is all this information, why is this case being treated like we're working at the local Dunkin' Donuts and these are just people on the assembly line? You're a judge, right? You're a judge. That is a very high standard of occupation. You have a duty, same with the detective, you have a duty to do your job, do your due diligence, and do it right and seek the truth. And we're not seeing any of that. And that's why people are getting angry, because this is garbage, guys. This is absolute garbage. Like I said before, if you look at the footage, she's referring to Reckless Ben as a fool. And she's coaching. She's coaching Amon. She's coaching him and saying like, hey, we can't get him on the charges you want, extortion, but we can, find something else we can get you on. And that's in the video. So even though the judge signed off on this, I actually read that this could all be thrown out in court. If this is deemed fraudulent evidence, a fraudulent push to acquire a search warrant, everything that she acquired could be thrown out in court. And I would love for that to happen because it's really disgusting, guys. Can you imagine? Look at how easy it was for Google to give up all this information. Like, imagine all the other detectives around America right now knowing that they can do this. Medina could send this little trumped up charge case and extract everything from Reckless Ben, and she's just sitting on her computer in her little station going through all of his sensitive information. So yeah, guys, I just wanted to do a little update on the part 3, and I really wanted to dive into Medina because the more you look at her and how she's being sued for wrongful death, it's all coming to a head now.